Hi, welcome to the JCFS training video, Avatar, Diagnosis with DSM-5 and ICD-10. The first question everyone seems to have is, why is this happening now? And the answer is that on October 1st of 2015, all HIPAA-covered entities must transition from using the ICD-9 codes to using the ICD-10 codes. Which begs the question, what does that have to do with us? We use DSM codes, not ICD code. And the answer is that DSM-5 codes and ICD-10 codes are coded and chosen the same way, and the billing is all done through ICD-10 codes. Please don't panic. When you open your Avatar and go to do a diagnosis beginning the 1st of October, the diagnosis screen will look different, and you will need to use the DSM-5 diagnosis system. But you have a number of resources. The first is the videos of the DSM-5 training done by Dr. Stan McCracken and Susan McCracken on YouTube. The next is the PowerPoint document that was used for the presentation. In addition, there are DSM-5 manuals in every office. Avatar provides some cross-mapping, and there are additional online resources. Now we're going to take a look at what the actual form looks like, and we're going to look at what it is to do a new diagnosis in the new diagnosis form, and what it is to update an existing diagnosis from in the new diagnosis form. I'm still going to start working with my client, Huckleberry Finn, and Huckleberry was admitted about 3.5 weeks ago, and my MHA is due, and I have to have my diagnosis. Even if diagnosis is one of my forms, I need to make a new link because that link is to the old form. Okay, so this is an admission diagnosis, and the date of diagnosis then is going to be the date of admission, and I'm going to make current the time of diagnosis. I'm not going to default anything because there was no previous diagnosis. And so now I have basically a multiple iteration table. I need to create a new row where I'm going to put the information. I've spent a little bit of time with my DSM-5, and I know that Huck has been diagnosed with attention deficit hyper disorder. Now, this is a search function, but I need to either click on the magnifying glass or press the enter key for it to do the search. So here I have a number of choices on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. In fact, 114 of them come up. So it's going to be really useful if I've already spent time in the DSM-5 and I know what I want to use. So I happen to know that I want the predominantly hyperactive impulsive type, and so I'm going to choose that. Now, this is an active diagnosis. In order to understand what the other choices are, you would go to the manual, the instruction manual that is coming with this video, and that would tell you those things. Estimated onset date. If I know when it is, I could put it in, and if I didn't, I wouldn't. So let's say that I am aware from the records that this was diagnosed in November 3 years ago. And so I'm going to choose that date. This is his primary diagnosis. This is what we're going to bill his treatment under. Show active only. We're always going to click yes. Here's the cross-mapping. So I can see here that the old ICD-9 or DSM-4 number was 314.01, but the new ICD-10 number is F90.1, and that's what it will be billed under. Because it's an admission diagnosis, then it is present on admission. And the classification is mental health, and the diagnosing practitioner is me. So you'll see that some things are familiar and some things look very different. If there were an additional diagnosis, I would click on new row, and I would have all the same choices, and I could put in the next diagnosis. That could be a mental health or a physical health issue. If not, if this is the only diagnosis that is being given, I would click submit, and I would be finished. I'm not going to return to pre-display because I actually want to do this now for a different client. Now my client, Oprah Winfrey, and you'll see that she has been here for quite some time and has received a lot of treatment. So I'm going to go from her chart view again into the diagnosis screen, and I'm going to do that by clicking on the plus sign, which gives me the My Forms widget. And again, I'm going to type in diagnosis. And because I did this from within her chart, it automatically knows that it's Oprah Winfrey that I want to be doing this for. This is the episode. And now I am going to do an update diagnosis, and I'm going to add it. So back in the form as you saw it before, this is an update diagnosis. The date of diagnosis is today, and the time is current. I can choose to default the previous diagnosis. And yes, I know everything could be lost, but it won't be. And I am going to default from the most recent diagnosis. This was from a previous video I tried to make that didn't work. So we're going to go back from the diagnosis from February, because now you'll see what it looks like when we pull in a DSM-4 diagnosis into this DSM-5 screen. And you'll see that, so this is what it looks like in this screen, and you'll see that we have all the axis 1, 2, and 3 choices here, even though we no longer have axes, but they're listed in that way. And we'll also see that dysthymic disorder is the primary diagnosis, but it doesn't have an ICD-10 code. So we know that we can't use that diagnosis as it is described here. So I'm going to double click in this field, on this row, and so now all of the pieces of information are down in these fields. Dysthymic disorder, I know from research, is now called persistent depressive disorder. So I'm going to type that in, and then I'm going to press the Enter key. And if I've typed it correctly, there we go, I get a full range of choices. I'm going to choose persistent depressive disorder. I actually have 85 different choices, which could be really overwhelming, but let's just take a look so that you have a sense of what you have. But most of these are the old descriptions because they still use the word dysthymic. So I'm going to go back to persistent depressive disorder, and I'm going to choose it. I'm going to see that here's the old DSM-4 or ICD-9 code, 300.4, and here is the ICD-10 code, or what we're using to bill in DSM-5, which is F34.1. It is an active status. The date of onset I might or might not know, so maybe I don't know it, and I'm going to leave it blank. It is the primary diagnosis as we are billing. Yes, show active. Present on admission, I happen to know that yes, this was what the client was admitted for. Classification mental health, and I am the diagnosing practitioner. And there we are. Now, I want to show you what's going to happen if I try to submit now. I'm going to get an error screen, and it says diagnosis search is missing for row 3. And so if I go to row 3, what I see is it's all inactive. It didn't have any sort of a code. And so I'm going to need to delete this row. So a diagnosis deferred can stay, but no description, no diagnosis is not going to work. And so I deleted that row. And now I'm complete, and I can submit. And I'm not returning the pre-display. And that's how it works. If you have problems and challenges, please talk to your supervisor and or call Avatar Help. Thank you for watching this Avatar video. We hope you will join us for future videos. Goodbye.